Hello everyone, Lone Wolf here, welcome to the show. Today I'm going to address a topic that I'll probably return to again on this channel. Nevertheless, I think this story is truly beneficial for you all to learn from and internalise the knowledge. After all, the truly wise do learn from the mistakes of others, not their own. This story concerns a former best friend of mine who in any objective sense could be said to have pressed the self-destruct button on his life, taken the blue pill, and completely given up his self-determination and freedom. As a bystander looking on throughout this sorry episode, I was uniquely positioned to learn from his experiences and educate myself. I often remind myself of this entire experience just to keep the message at the forefront of my consciousness and reaffirm the important lessons that it provides. Over the past 15 years or so, I've developed, cultivated and refined my stoic and apathetic attitude to dating and relationships. This has been further underpinned by my observations of others during this time, particularly contacts on social media. Believe me, Facebook has been a revelation, allowing me to witness the metaphorical meteorites of people's lives. People I used to know that thought they were something special, male or female, impacting the earth with aplomb. And also by my interactions with friends and relatives. I was talking with my good friends the other day about this particular guy, and it inspired me to make a video about it to help you all avoid making the same mistakes. In the mid to late 2000s, I had a social group of about 5 truly close friends, and this has dwindled down to 3 or 4 since then. Now I'm talking about friends that you can entrust with your life, your closest secrets, who would never let you down when you needed them. Obviously for some though, this one in particular, this doctrine wasn't binding. The friend in question, let's call him Alex, I had known since the age of 11 to 12. So year 7 or about 6th grade for you guys across the pond. In fact, this was true for most of the friends in this social group. We all gravitated towards each other because we were all in the same year group. We had the same classes each and every day. Once we got to year 10 and had chosen our GCSE subjects, Alex and I were often in the same classes for history and geography, and by this stage we were firm friends anyway, as we all were in our group. It was the type of friendship where you always sit near each other, play on the same football team, go to each other's houses at birthdays. They even used to come and watch my band play sometimes. Once we finished school, I stayed on and did my A-levels, whereas Alex went off to do an apprenticeship in engineering. He loved it, but more importantly, he was good at the job and quickly started to put money behind him once he was a qualified electrical engineer. We always kept in touch, and when I'd started my job in manufacturing, we made an effort every week to go to the pub and catch up over food and drink as a group. At these gatherings there would sometimes be more than 5 of us, as Alex would occasionally bring his twin brother, who he'd always had a rambunctious but close relationship with, and we used to hang around with him at school back in the day. These gatherings could be said to mirror our group from school, and we would often reminisce about those days while talking about the challenges of early adulthood. As far as I was aware, although we were 18 to 19 years old at this time, Alex had never had a serious girlfriend, and he hadn't mentioned it to the group at any rate. We did share everything pretty much. I always felt that I could approach any of them about any matter. By this stage, I was already beginning to cultivate my attitude of indifference towards dating, as I'd had more than enough attempts at trying to attract the women I was interested in. Instead, I found solace in my sports, lifting, gaming, work, career, books, music, and other passions. In around 2010, Alex mentioned that the dinner lady at his workplace was trying to set him up with her daughter, Sarah. It turned out that Sarah stood him up a number of times before meeting with him, and this annoyed him quite a bit. Huge red flags right away, but he persisted with her. It was later explained that she had been mistreated by previous boyfriends, so she was apprehensive about seeing new people. However, the nature of this mistreatment was never characterised to me. What that prior experience had to do with Alex, I'll never know. I mean, there are boundaries of civil discourse, and you should treat strangers with courtesy and not mess them around, you know? The first time I met Sarah, Alex brought her along to a pool hall we used to go to after work sometimes, maybe about once a month. She barely said a word but seemed nice enough. I'd probably say she was a 6 out of 10 on that evidence. I think I must have met her twice more after that but didn't really engage. All I remembered was that she did cleaning work part-time, and that's about it. Fast forward 6 weeks and I was meeting up with Alex at his bowls game, the sport he had played and competed in since he was a little kid. I was injured at the time, so instead of playing my usual Saturday afternoon cricket match, I went along to support him, hang out and shoot the breeze over a beer. He then asked me after I'd been talking to him a little while, "What would you say if I told you that Sarah was pregnant?" He said it with a grin, almost a laugh, blissfully unaware of such a cataclysmic moment in his life. For a minute I couldn't really say anything and just stood there speechless. It later turned out that it was the first time he had been intimate with her, and he had gone in without protection. I mean, how many errors can you make? Following this, Alex's twin brother and his girlfriend fell out with Sarah because they accused her of getting pregnant deliberately, and I have to say that does appear to be the case. I can't remember if she said she was on the pill at the time or not. He went into this relationship without a single shred of due diligence and absolutely no discretion. It cost him dearly. The worst part is that I'm not even sure he's aware of it himself, but he will be in time. Part of me wants to believe that Sarah and her parents knew Alex was on good money and had a fair bit saved up and was therefore a good catch. But I don't want to be too cynical. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Once the pregnancy news hit, the simping began. Alex couldn't do enough for Sarah, running around all over the place. I remember at my 21st birthday party, he couldn't stay the whole evening because he had to rush off to meet her or something. Everything started to come second to her wants and needs. Another friend in our social group was getting married, another one soon to abandon our group, and we all met at their apartment to discuss the wedding ceremony. I'd been asked to play guitar during their ceremony and needed to go through the songs I'd be playing on the acoustic. For some reason, Sarah was there, by this point heavily pregnant if I recall, and she was just sitting there fuming for some reason. She called her dad to come and pick her up. She was a real daddy's girl, and Alex went outside. He then came back in saying that her dad would call him on her behalf. Sure enough, he calls Alex, who goes outside to answer it. Apparently her dad was annoyed that she wasn't seated right, or the chair was wrong, or something. I truly felt sorry for Alex, I really did, but ultimately the blame lay with him. He made his bed, and was now lying in it. Once the baby arrived, Alex had to move from his parents' house. I think he was 21 himself at this stage, still a young man, to live at her parents' house. Why he had to do this, I don't know, but her parents probably pressured him into it. How awkward that must have been, wandering around the house, seeing to a baby but never able to do things your way, always having her parents around. It was bad enough the way things were, but I rapidly came to the conclusion that one of my closest friends for nigh on 10 years had no spine. Cue the marriage at a Protestant church, again under pressure from her parents. The couple had to attend church every week before they would be wed, and I feel that again this was her pressuring him. I find that ironic, seeing as they had relations out of wedlock in the first place. The kid was born before marriage and so on. It's weird how people are religious when they feel like it, when it suits their situation, and consequences to their benefit. Alex had converted to Protestantism so that they could marry at the church she wanted. Yet he had been a student at a Catholic school most of his life. This was another of many concessions, the worst being yet to come. I have bittersweet memories of their wedding, purely because I knew it was the beginning of the end for our friendship, and the end of his free existence. But also because on entering the church car park my car exhaust got ripped off and cost me £400. Following that, our contact with the couple dropped off. The last time we met was for a meal at their house, which Alex had taken out a mortgage on. We had some food and talked, and that was the last time we ever spoke. The contact just abruptly stopped. A friend of mine who worked at a supermarket they went to saw them once, and they blanked him. It's very sad to remember all this because of how strong our friendship was. I did hear that he had another child or two and was still working as an electrical engineer. I do have no worries in sharing this with you all because to me, the guy no longer exists. He is a shell, a husk of the person I knew, and if I made contact with him again in some way, I wouldn't recognise him. He would be corrupted, and it's best to just consign that nonsense to the past, but learn from it for the future. His relationship and marriage has cost him his freedom, his most valued friendships, made him hostile towards his twin brother, they no longer talk, and alienated and isolated his existence. His entire world is her and the kids. And did he really have any choice? Sarah never took Alex's surname, instead hyphenating his surname with hers. Worse still, Alex would later end up taking her name so that they both have the hyphenated version. The ultimate concession is now complete. Alex had given up his self-determination, freedom, independence, and left himself completely at the whims of his wife. If she decides to just take the kids and leave him, he will likely lose custody and half of everything he owns. He has lost his friends, and in the event that he does get ripped to pieces, we will not be there to support him. In a couple short years, even 6 months into their marriage in fact, she gained weight and you really could tell the difference. His life, for the next 20 years or so at least, will not be his. He won't be able to go where he wants, do as he pleases, or truly live for himself. He is responsible for 4 other human beings, not counting his wife. Monetarily, Will he ever have self-determination again? Maybe, maybe not. But the saddest thing is the tragic loss of brotherhood that he will surely never know again. To sum up, knowledge of men doing their own thing, I think you'll know what I'm referring to there. Gender dynamics and structure serves to empower self-determination and sovereignty, and I'm truly thankful for the opportunity to learn from Alex's story. No doubt you all have similar stories that are equally as impactful. I think the scene from The Matrix, the image of Neo looking out over the desert of the real in complete solitude, watching the other humans blissfully unaware of their enslavement and subjugation, is supremely powerful, and no doubt it resonates with most of you. As Morpheus says, some people are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Marriage is just the done thing in many people's eyes, and a lot of men simply walk into it without understanding the ramifications. In the present day, there is only one friend from that social group that I see on a regular basis. I've known him for about 15 years, and in this instance I would honestly support the view that male brotherhood can be much stronger and more beneficial than the thirst for female interactions. I treat women as peers and respect them just as much as the next guy, but I do not put them on a pedestal in a dating sense. I aspire to date and have positive relationships with women, but I absolutely will not cohabit or marry. I like my own space, time and resources, and value my personal freedom. I have another pal that I met at university 7 years ago, who despite having a very young family, he's married as well, always makes time to catch up and socialise, demonstrating a keen interest in my life and career. I think it's the true hallmark of a great friend if they consistently make time for you, regardless of the constraints, and this is something we can all apply to our lives. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.